Ken Wapnick was and is right about the interpretation of the Course. And this audio is about why we want him to be right, aside from the fact that he is right. Ken emphasized the uncompromising nature of the Course. And I've come to understand that there are different groups, different interpretations that have a voice in the Course community. And I think it's a disservice, and so I am going to address why we want Ken to be right. So the Course talks about heaven and hell, truth and illusion, reality and fantasy. Reality is non-duality, and we live in a dualistic world. So there is Course contradictions, of course, where the Course talks about God as though he interacts with us as people. But the central message of the Course is that there is no world, and that there is no compromise possible. Any compromise that grants reality to the world we seem to live in, that makes it not be an illusion, means what that equals, a compromise equals, God can harbor a hint of hatred. God could permit bad things. God, if there's any compromise, then fear, pain, guilt, sin have some reality. They can exist somewhere, that and God is aware of it and either can't stop it or permits it. There's a section of the Course that talks about the fact that everything and nothing do not coexist. They can't coexist by their definition. I think one of the arguments that I've seen for different interpretations is that there are different books being published aside from the Foundation for A Course in Miracles. So I'm a one book, one teacher student. I don't understand the appeal of the other books at all. It seems that some specifics were included in the other books, and again, I didn't read them. To be honest, I find it boring. It just doesn't interest me. What does interest me is orthodoxy to my course and my teacher. I feel strongly about that, and so that's why I'm making this. And maybe it could be helpful to somebody to see what compromise means. Without the Course's central message and central teaching, we remain afraid. Fear is fully justified. Anger is justified. Grievances are justified. Because we can't take a piece of level 1, oneness in God, and shove it into a picture at level 2 and have it remain what it is. Because we live in a world of limitations. We live in a world of symbols. So in our world, there are symbols and there's experience. And the only thing we know really is our own experience of those symbols. The idea that we could depict level 1 in some way means that we could limit it to something, a figure, a symbol, a form, and have that represent the whole of it. But the very act of reducing it to a symbol fundamentally alters it, and we lose understanding. Well, it's actually an attempt to understand what's inexplicable to us, because at level 2, we can't understand or experience level 1 while we're embracing level 2, while we believe we're a body, while we experience ourselves as bodies with psychological needs, physical needs, social needs. The body demands all of our attention, and we can't, the limitation that we've imposed on ourselves by binding our hands and feet and forgetting that we have a mind, we don't know what we are anymore. We know what we've become, what we have made of ourselves. And that's what we're supposed to be looking at. What have we made of ourselves? Because if we're really looking at that, in really studying the Course, in Jesus' descriptions of the ego, the world, and specialness, are descriptions of what we've made of ourselves. That is us. He is talking about what we believe about ourselves. So, I didn't really have a plan. I like to have a plan, and I say this all the time. I didn't have a plan. I just started talking. So forgive me for long pauses. The beginning of the Course, the first 3 lines, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. If we lend reality to the world, those words have no meaning anymore. Because everything in the world can be threatened. Everything in the world turns to dust. Everything in the world is temporary. And there's no safety has no meaning in the world in which we live because of those things. Because it's all going to deteriorate. We're all going to die. We're going to witness suffering and loss and some version of devastation. Nobody escapes those things. Nobody would mistake this world for heaven. So nothing real can be threatened. The idea that the Course is missing specifics that were told to Helen, or I'm forgive me because I'm not really all that familiar, but I believe there is an text spreading around. There's something called the sparkly version, which some people attribute to, I guess, Bill Thetford. And there's my course and the Edgar Casey. Okay, so we got all these different versions of the Course, and I will not even go into a course on love. That's just completely and utterly ridiculous and entirely divorced from A Course in Miracles. So those other ones they have some kind of credence for people. And a very important thing for me to say is that there's only one book and one teacher with the true path of A Course in Miracles. I don't know what the path of those others are. But if they include specifics and the idea that God somehow participated in the world and lent reality to the world, then they're not A Course in Miracles. So let's start with the specifics that might be in those. Okay, specifics are the least interesting aspect of our lives. The specifics mean nothing. They're symbols, they're figures, they're forms. And we give them all the meaning they have. There's really no reason to focus on specifics. The idea that God would address something in this world with a preference of how to deal with it is antithetical to everything the Course stands for. It promotes the idea that sin is real, that some people are good and some people are bad, that there's a hierarchy of illusions. So why do we want Ken to be right? We want Ken to be right because anything outside of his interpretation preserves fear, terror, pain. What is the top of the ladder if those are preserved? What is the way home if those are acceptable things to God? Acceptable experiences. Heaven is one experience. Heaven is joy, truth, love, God, oneness, non-duality. Non-duality and duality cannot coexist. So if you adopt another interpretation, then we remain hopeless. There is no home to return to because we're already there. To me, it's the equivalent of saying we've already died, heaven was already lost, and we're already in hell. Because hell is the only place where loss would be experienced. Heaven is the place where you are what you want. You are the love you have been looking for. You are, to have and be are the same. That is the idea of safety. So the most perfect expression of mercy, of justice, of safety, those ideas, those concepts have no meaning aside from a heaven of non-duality. If you are content with the yin and the yang and the duality, and you don't see there is no value in duality, then another path is right for you. It'll lead to God, because all paths lead to God. There's no reason to call it A Course in Miracles, because A Course in Miracles is a pure, non-dualistic path, and it is an intellectual path. It does require study. To kind of reduce it to this idea that we can somehow make a world of duality better or nicer really flies in the face of what Jesus has tried to say in his Course. I will not value what is valueless. Well, what has value? What is eternal? Nothing here is eternal. Not only is nothing outside of me eternal, which includes my own body, but there's a shifting, changing, conflicting ideas in the world. So in the world, there's no level where there's consistency, reliability, constancy, and those are the kinds of things that support an idea of safety. I don't just mean safety physically, psychologically, emotionally. Safety in terms of comfort level is the way we always think about it. But, safety is also found in some type of constancy. We have no idea what's going to happen around here. We are all one event away from being down on our knees with our face in the ground. In that environment, how could we believe in a loving God? How could we make that environment be real and believe that God is love? I would say there is no way to do that. Either God is love, or this world is real. In the attempts to drag level 1 into level 2 and make it look like something, make it be something here, it's not just that, I'm going to justify my grievances and I'm going to feel terror and I'm going to judge with wild abandon. It's just not going to make us happy. It's not going to make us happy, and it's not going to get us where we want to be. We want to go home. And the Course is a beautiful, expansive path home for us. And there's no reason to change it and alter it into something else, and to prolong what inevitably will end. So I'm going to close with these words. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.